Welcome all, everybody, to our Monday night live stream. Once again, we're live here Monday night, and I am so excited. I am very excited to have my special guest, and I'm excited to have all of you guys here while you're here. If you were one of those people who jumped in from Dave's channel, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. That would mean the world to me. And today we are going to be picking up, like we always do, where we left off on our podcast show. So on our podcast show this week, we had BK on the air, and he's here with his student. I'm going to bring him on in just a second. And and we talked about growing up Gen X, as we always do. And the theme for our podcast was educational TV, and we tried to go the whole gambit. And as soon as I put the educational TV out there and we talked about everything, immediately people were like, well, you forgot this show, you forgot this show. Well, that's why we have the live Monday night, so that you can tell us, your input and ask questions. So let me bring on Thrash Pondo Pons. How you doing, my friend?
I am relatively not unwell, thank you.
Relatively not unwell. Awesome. That's good. That's better than absolutely horrible. So
much better than that. Yes, much.
Well, cool. We got Thrash Pondo Pons with us as always, and gonna monitor the chat and kick out anybody who's mean or nasty or or those spam people or anything like that. And look who we have with us today. BK on the air, joining us once again for the live stream. How you doing, BK?
Good. You guys kick out the mean and nasty people. If I kick those off the radio, I wouldn't have any listeners. I have to keep those off.
Actually, I don't think we've had to kick off too many people, just like the spam stuff.
Or just the evil robot things, right?
Yeah.
A couple of trolls.
Yeah.
Dispatch the trolls.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, I'm sure in radio you don't have to deal with that, but in go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, mostly it's our office personnel that
we office personnel. You're like, you got to get out of here.
Right. We've had everything's calmed down here. Just as soon as I'm about to do a live video, my phone starts to my mom is texting me. The dog is screaming at something outside the window. So it's all calmed down now. So I've got my fingers crossed.
That's good. That's good. Well, I mean, I've got the same thing. My family's right outside at the kitchen table. And the dog's actually pushing his head in here, looking around, wondering why in the world do I have the door closed? And a lot of people, I am so unprofessional. Like literally, I'm so unprofessional. This room that I'm in is an add-on room, and so there's no power to it. Well, there is, but it goes out like quickly, so I have to run an extension cord out the door, so I can't close it all the way. So if dogs come in and out or poke their head in, I can only close it as much as the door is. But you know what? It's a shoddy work. I always said it's a shoddy workman who blames his tools. And you just got to roll with what you have. You do the best job with what you have. You raise your flag, and people will salute it. And if people don't, they don't.
Both of your rooms look great. I mean, they're appropriate for our subject matter. I mean, that's totally fine. It's great.
Right on. And your show, by the way, and I keep saying this, but I mean, that is a slick presentation. And I mean, it is one of the best shows. If anybody's out there and really you're not listening to BK on the air and you like the subject matter you hear here and over on Dave's channel and over on Thrash Pondo Pons' channel, you're going to love, I'm talking about love BK on the air. I literally can't get enough of it.
You're killing me, Smalls. I tell you, you're killing me. I appreciate everything you say. Believe me, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, before we get into the chat channel, we're going to hand it over to Thrash Pondo, and he is going to say hi to people who are here, and we're going to say we're glad to have you here. So, Thrash, if we might not be able to get to everybody, but I mean, we're going to get to a significant number, and then as people kind of float in, we'll continue to say hi to them. Thrash, who do we got with us?
Let's open with my computer crashing. Nah, I'm kidding. Let's just see.
Oh no! Did it not? Is it not working?
I'm not getting the comments. We got Danny.
Danny, how you
Danny
doing?
Staten. Now it's working. Danny Staten. Greetings from South Carolina.
Greetings, Danny. Glad you could be joining us. Always a pleasure to have you.
And Lance Chevin says, hiya, Ian and Thrash and BK. I'm sure he means you too.
Yes, of course. Hiya, Lance. Glad you could be with us.
Let's see. Tom, the hungry jerk, says, I'm here.
All right, Tom.
Brenda Bunch says, hey, did we switch? You sure did.
You sure did. Dave did this really cool thing where I guess my live feed will feed into his live feed now as well. So, or something like that. It's some feature that YouTube allows at this point.
Let's see. Tracy Ross Myers says, hi again.
Hello, Tracy. Glad you could be with us.
Zoomerplex says, 1 minute to showtime. Well, now you're here.
Right on.
Let's see. Butch, I'm going to butcher your name, Butch. I'm very sorry, but it's Shumf. Says hello.
BK dropped out. I don't know. I hope he's okay.
I'm sure he'll be back.
Mr.
Led beamed. Mr. Led said, I beamed up. BK must have beamed back.
Hey, Mr. Led, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, and we have in the house Adrian James. Hello there again.
Hello, Adrian. Glad you could be joining us on this live stream.
Claude Sailing takes me away. Says hi all.
Come sail away, come sail away. Yeah, I don't want to sing it too much.
John Collins in the house says, hey everyone.
Hey John, how you doing, buddy? Loved your show. Loved that interview that you did with Dave. That was a really good one.
Amazing job. Should be very proud. Oh, Emily Miller in the house. Brenda said, I switched in 2004. I'm assuming she means to decaf.
I'm gonna guess. Who knows? I don't know.
Oh, John F. Kennedy, Mr. President, says, beam me up.
You are beamed. You are beamed aboard the satellite here.
Jason Goldtrap says, I think I am in a mirror universe. Mirror, mirror.
Maybe, I don't know. Does he mean a mirror like maybe from Dave's or something like that?
Although I think we're more of a companion than a reverse image, but the point is made.
Yeah. Well,
I do have a goatee, though, don't I? Your agonizer. James Die. The die is cast.
All right, James. Here we are.
Here we are.
Glad you could be joining us. We'll take a few more, and then we're gonna get into the questions I want to ask you guys, and the question I asked because Thrash Panda was not able to join us, so for the interview we had with BK, and hopefully BK will be back. I hope he's okay. I'm sure I had to drop out of a guy's. I was on the Action Elites podcast one night, and I had to drop out because my wife was sick. So I actually had to leave real quickly, and I thought it would be better if I just left rather than say something because I would have had to interrupt some other people. So hopefully he will be back on.
Oh, Mr. Dave himself, Dave Sundstrom says, hey, everyone.
Hey, Dave. Thank you so much for feeding this live stream into your live stream or however it was done.
And we got to take this one. Daryl Johnson says, hello to you, Daryl.
Hello.
And thank you. He says, hit the like button quick.
Hit the like button, and also if you're new here from Dave's, subscribe. It would mean the world to me. All right.
And speaking of educational TV, Crow Minion says, hey,
Crow Minion.
I think I got all the new joiners. Right. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I'll catch you on the flip side.
These things move quickly. Even as I glance over at them, it moves pretty quickly. So here's the first thing that I kind of want to ask you, and then I want to hear from you guys too, who are joining in. Were you guys more of if you had to choose Electric Company, Sesame Street, or Mr. Rogers? Out of those three, like, where did you fall down? What side did you fall down on, Thrash Pondo?
I had to go. Now, I loved all three. I must tell you, I loved all three, but I would have to go with the Electric Company.
Yes.
For me, it didn't feel like a kid show. It actually it was like a little more tame version of Laugh-In with the sketches and the guest stars and all that. I just love the Electric Company. To me, it was just like watching a primetime adult comedy show.
Yeah, I think Electric Company was one of the more covert of the three. Like you actually were learning, but you were, I mean, it was real slick how they were letting you learn. You know, I mean, with Mr. Rogers, I think Mr. Rogers is kind of more geared toward younger kids. And I think Mr. Rogers is more about like emotional management rather than like learning your ABCs and stuff like that. It's more like learning how to deal with being upset, or learning how to deal with disappointment, or learning how to accept yourself, or something like that. And and Sesame Street is kind of the gap, which bridges the gap between it. And Electric Company is finally where you're learning, but it's cool to learn. It's still pretty cool to learn. So I don't know what do we got here. What do people say that they like the best? I'm
Well, I just want to give
interested.
one more shout out to Donald Paluga, who says, "No Jack in my neck of the woods, Brenda." He was actually referring to the Jack in the Box. We actually had a Jack in the Box here on Cape Cod for years, but they shut it down, and I still haven't quite gotten over it. And
Yeah,
I'm
I wouldn't
skipping.
get over it either.
I miss Jack in the Box. When we lived in New York, there were plenty of them.
Yeah.
They made a comeback a few years ago, but it was, I think, too little, too late. Okay, let's see. I've skipped down to
Oh, we got
people
BK's
answering your
back with
question.
us here. Oh no,
Oh,
he
excellent.
left. He left again. I don't know what's going on.
This is crazy.
I don't know if it's his internet connection or something like that, but I saw him for a second and then boom, he was gone again. Geez, real sorry,
Huh.
BK. I hope
Well,
it's
hopefully he'll come back.
I hope you come back.
Number one dude is in the house. At work
Hey,
still, Ian the Thrash. Good to see you. Great to see
good to
you
see
too.
you as well.
And here's where people start kicking with the answers. Dave Sunstrom says Electric Company.
He's on
The
Team
Electric
Electric Company. I think most
Company.
people would be on Team Electric Company. What other teams we
Crowman
got?
says Rogers.
Rogers. Rogers is solid. I mean, all of them are solid. I like them all for very different reasons, but I mean, if I had to throw my hat in the ring, I think I'd have to throw it in with Electric Company.
And Kimberly
Oh,
Wiedenhold says Bloodhound Gang. Yes. Now that, of course, was a show within a show. It was on 321 Contact.
yes. And that was one of them that I forgot to mention was 321 Contact. And I absolutely loved the Bloodhound Gang. And look who we got. Hey,
Hey, we had some storms move through earlier, and there was one last hurrah just came through and gave us a little flicker, and it knocked me right out. So I apologize for that, guys.
That's quite all right. What do you think of
We
the
pressed on your absence.
Yeah,
can't mess with Mother Nature; she'll have her way.
Right. What did you think of the Bloodhound Gang?
You know, when did the Bloodhound Gang start?
Late 70s, like 79.
That's one of the shows that I did not get to see. I heard of it and had friends that watched it, but I missed it, just like I missed the after school specials that we talked about a couple of days ago. I only saw a couple of those because I was always out doing stuff after school. But I never saw the Bloodhound Gang. I don't think
It was in 321 Contact, and it wasn't in every episode. It was a sort of a periodic serial that was a show within a show. Fun fact, the three main characters of 321 Contact, one of them was a young lady whose stage name was Trini. Big crush on her when I was 12 years old. She has a walk-on in the movie The Warriors. Walter Hill's The Warriors. She plays the girl who owns the magazine stand that the Rogues rip off. The guy who plays Rembrandt in The Warriors is also in the Bloodhound Gang, which, of course, was on 321 Contact.
Now, 321 Contact was more of a science-based show for kids, right?
Very much so. It was all science.
Right. Okay. I think I saw the title sequence to it several times, and it would come on, and I just didn't get to watch it because I remember the catchy song, Contact. Da, 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 da.
That's the one. That's the one.
That's the one right there.
John H. in the house says Electric Company was the coolest of them.
I think that the Electric Company was the coolest of them. I think that would be kind of a given, but I don't think that necessarily means that people liked the Electric Company the most. I mean, I think all three of us here, you know, like I said, if we had to throw a hat in the ring, we'd throw it in with Electric Company. But cool is not always the appeal for everyone, you know.
So. It was interesting to see Morgan Freeman back when he starting to become a star. I even noticed, I'm like, that's the guy that was on Electric Company. I remember him as Easy Reader, and the guy the DJ that would introduce the Short Circus, the musical group on Electric Company, the kids that sang. And he'd go, here's the fine sounds of the Short Circus. Here they come, and he did, and I recognized him before he became a star.
Yeah. Was who else was on Electric Company?
Rita Moreno.
Goodness. Yeah, Rita Moreno. Yeah,
Rita Moreno was on it. Yes.
Okay.
And a few other character actors and voice actors who went on to do many of the things. One guy did those Camry commercials for years. The Toyota Camry gets 1 mile less than its competitor. That's 1 mile.
And the guy that played Fargo, North Dakota. I don't remember the actor's name, but I think he did some A1 steak sauce commercials too. I think he also did some commercial work and things like that I remember. Yeah.
Right on.
Spider-Man was on the Electric Company. It was great. It's my favorite.
I watched that really for the Spider-Mans. I mean, that's kind of what I was always watching for. And even though I liked it, I was always a tad bit disappointed when they didn't have the Spider-Man on there. I was like, oh gosh, this is another one without Spider-Man.
Right. Did you guys know that was the first ever live action Spider-Man was on the Electric Company?
Dave mentioned that.
Yeah.
Dave mentioned that. Yes.
Oh, okay. And my outage. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, on a previous post.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, it was.
I think I remember hearing that somewhere, but I didn't really know it though. So yeah, that's interesting. They did a good job. I mean, they did a good job with the Spider-Man costume and stuff like that. I mean, what did I care? Great. I was 7 years old or something like that. So
I thought the Spider-Man costume on the Electric Company looked better than the CBS live action show Spider-Man costume with his little dots in his eyes and stuff. But hey, get what you get.
That CBS one was not the best. No. I liked it because I was a kid and I was a Spider-Man fan, but I know that it just really didn't go well. Well, if you guys got questions for our guest, or if you guys want to chime in on some of your favorite educational programs, please do so.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, you know which one we missed?
What?
It was one I liked, but it wasn't heavy in rotation for me. It was a Romper Room. Do you remember Romper Room?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Yes. She never said Robert at the end of the show. It was always every other name on the planet.
And I knew somebody was going to say that.
Yeah. Well, did they say Barry?
No. I was so mad. I never heard Barry in the Magic Mirror. I never heard it.
Yeah, I think I heard Ian one time.
Well,
I think I heard that one time, but
oh no, they had Ian and Ebenezer and Lasney, and it was, but no Robbie,
Lazarus, all these names.
No, they had Jason. Robbie, a lot of Jasons. Jason was like the most popular name in.
Here's a good one we haven't talked about yet too.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Armani says I like Captain Kangaroo.
Yeah.
Yes. Good morning, Captain. Captain Kangaroo.
That was
Mr. Green Jeans.
That was a great show, Captain Kangaroo. I liked when the ping pong balls fell from the sky, and the moose. What was the moose's name?
Moose.
Was he Mr. Moose?
Was he just Mr. Moose? He's like, well, Moose. All right. That's one of those things where they like, hey, did you come up with the name for the moose? Like somebody was in charge of that. And it's like, was I supposed to do that? Oh, yes, I did. It's Mr. Moose.
Oh, yeah. We'll call him Moose. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I liked, wait, we got to go back.
I'm sorry.
We're not done riffing on Captain Kangaroo. Anyway, the other thing about Captain Kangaroo that I liked was when they said you're bored. Like if you're bored and they played, remember that thing that they played? You can go outside, ride your bike, fly a kite, or something like that. It was that was a lot of fun for them. I remember that.
Captain Kangaroo was old enough for kids that were older than us watched it in black and white, like in the 60s, and we discovered it in the 70s. So it was on many years before when we started watching it. Yeah, it was on those older ones.
Yeah, definitely. It was great. Sorry, Thrash.
Oh no! John Collins went on to talk about Captain Kangaroo, so I thought it'd make a nice segue.
Okay.
John Collins says, "On our last episode, you didn't discuss Captain Kangaroo. We're making up for that now, John. Nick News with Linda Ellerby. Ellerby. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. And where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?"
I'll let you talk about any of those you want, because I never even heard. I heard Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. Never saw an episode. I don't know anything about that news one. Take it away, either one of you. What
I was at, I don't remember the news one myself actually, but I remember I was in college when Carmen Sandiego came out, and I was actually, as you know, I have a degree in European history, and I was actually looking into getting my teacher's certificate, long story, but I was actually doing some work with some local schools. And the great thing about Carmen Sandiego is it was an educational show which spotlit geography and even a certain amount of history. So it was like the only show I could really sink my teeth into because they were, because usually it's math and science, science and math, math and science, English is huge. But you don't get a lot of historic and geographic input, so I kind of gobbled it up. And of course, I keep coming back to Walter Hill tonight. The lady who played the leader of the detective bureau was Lynn Thigpen, who was the DJ in Walter Hill's The Warriors.
Oh wow! Right on.
If I had two glasses here, I could pop them together and say Warriors.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I didn't think of the news program with Linda Ellerby and Carmen Sandiego is because that was much later, and I'd stopped watching that, and it was kind of out of my generational area. So that's the only. But Captain Kangaroo, we did miss that the other night, and I don't know how I forgot Captain Kangaroo, but it's on the list now. It's some things we did forget. So.
For sure. Yeah, I think, when did Carmen Sandiego come out? Did it come out like in the late 80s or 90s even?
I want to say 90. I want to say 90 when it first started.
And I actually didn't know that it was educational TV. But that makes sense when you say Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, that it would be about geography. So
right. And when you get older, things change. You have things like where in the world are my keys? Where in the world are my glasses?
I look for my glasses. Guess where they are? I'm wearing them. I actually started doing that. I thought my grandmother was insane when she did that, and she was. But now I do it. I'm like, oh, here they are.
She was.
I was a college graduate.
Yeah. Oh, I've literally been. No, this is no joke. I've had my phone with me, talking to somebody, looking for my phone. I've done that. It's not a joke. I'm like, where is my phone?
I did it once, but I was using a flashlight to look for my phone, and the flashlight was on my phone when I was looking for it. I'm like, oh, no, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Oh, no.
Never happened again. That was one time.
Yeah.
Ken Wilkinson says, good evening, Thrash. Good evening to you, Ken. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Let's see. I'm sure we have more questions down here. Skipping
what's
down.
that? I was going to ask, remember that show, Voyagers? Voyagers.
Yes.
Was
John
that...
Eric Hexum?
Yeah.
Isn't that? Yeah.
Yeah, sad with him, with him in between sets, accidentally shot himself with that blank.
And the younger kid whose name I can't pronounce, that I keep forgetting, dark hair.
Yeah.
Child actor with him, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah. But did they do stuff with real history or no?
I can't remember. I know that Young Indiana Jones did. When Young Indiana Jones premiered, it was trying to be an educational show, along with showing Indiana Jones as a child or a teenager or something. And that was partly when I watched it. I didn't like it. I'm like, where's the adventure? This is all trying to teach me geography and stuff, and I'm too old for this. It's educational, but I'm not sure about the one you're talking about, because I didn't get to watch Voyager. I know it didn't last hardly a season. I think it got canceled. It was pretty quick.
Yeah, I remember that he had an Omni, that brought them back through time, and at the time that show came out, my mother owned a car that was an Omni. That was the name of the car, was the Omni. And I don't know what brand, if it was Ford or Chevy.
Like it was
Chevy
Dodge,
Omni.
I think.
Dodge Omni, was that what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
And I thought that was the coolest thing on the planet. I'm like, oh, we have an Omni. You know?
Thrash Pondo might can correct me. Wasn't Voyagers on about the same time as some of those other NBC shows that didn't last, like The Powers of Matthew Starr and some of those
Yes.
early 80s shows, I think.
Yes, and that one about the modern day Merlin, and there was a lot of I don't want to say high fantasy, but a lot of shows that had a certain amount of mysticism involved in them.
Right.
Time
CBS had one called
travel and
Wizards and Warriors on CBS. I remember that one. That didn't last
yes,
long. So yeah,
that
there was a
didn't
lot of
last
that
long
through
at
that
all.
time.
So
Yeah.
there was a lot of that, and none of them seemed to last. And they would try to reinvent the whole science fiction thing too, with shows like
Right.
Manimal and Automan, and they were sort of, I don't want to say grasping at straws, but they were really just looking for something new. And as I always say, let's not reinvent the wheel. Just give us something good.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be new. Just give it. And then we found Knight Rider, which lasted for how many years?
Right. It was a little longer than the others. Yeah. It was like 5 seasons or 4, something like that. I can't remember.
I want to say 6, but it
Yeah,
could have
it
been
ran
5.
longer than the others. Yeah.
Yeah, which usually lasted 1. And then, do you remember in the '90s when I think the first one was Hercules, which of course led to Xena, but then basically every character from mythology had his own show. There was Sinbad, there was Zorro, there was Tarzan, there was and again, none of them lasted except for Xena. But it was just like, okay, I read a lot of comic books when I was a kid too. I know all these ancient characters, and they all don't need their own show.
No, they don't.
But they all seem to get one.
The educational shows that we were talking about a couple of nights ago, there's one that I was talking to Ian about, and he didn't remember it, but I did send you a link in your email, Ian. I don't know if you saw it or not, for Zoom, a TV show called Zoom on PBS.
Yeah. A lot of people had mentioned Zoom to me. That I had missed that one or whatever. Or no, you mentioned it on the, but I had not seen it.
1972 till 1978 was the first run of that show, and it was a long time. It was out of Boston, but it was syndicated through PBS stations, and had a lot of kids going around in it. It was largely unscripted. These kids they just turned the camera on and gave them a subject, and they discussed it and talked about it, and let you feel like you were included as a kid their age talking to you. And there were no adults on the show at all.
Oh, really?
None. No adults. Yeah. And it was a good show. I do remember Zoom. Somebody else might remember it too.
I remember it. I was actually from Massachusetts, so it was kind of a big deal to me because it's actually one of the few shows from my area. Made me feel like Massachusetts was somehow on the map. A girl I went to school with actually was a Zoom kid for a while.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
WBMGH or something out of
WGBH.
Right, that's it, because it would open with their logo every time. Yeah.
Box 350, Boston, Mass. 02134. Send it to Zoom.
They sang the address at the
end. I
end.
feel so unincluded. I'm like, I missed out on it.
There was another show which I don't think was from the Northeast, but some wooded area. It was called the Hodgepodge Lodge. Anyone remember this one?
No, I don't remember that one.
It was this middle-aged lady. She was very sweet, and she taught children about nature.
Oh,
okay. Wow.
The Hodgepodge Lodge. I thought maybe you were having a stroke for a second.
I smelled toast. Oh, wait, I'm making bread. You know, I shouldn't even kid with my weight problem, but
it happens.
But yeah, that was a great show.
Well, I want to go back to the Young Indiana Jones thing, because I vaguely remember this Young Indiana Jones, because wasn't it a takeoff of the fact that Indiana Jones 3 had a segment that had a young Indiana Jones played by River Phoenix?
Could have been. That may be why they did it. I know that it started off with him as a child, and then it was a little Sean Patrick Flannery played him in a later episode, and Harrison Ford even cameoed on an episode playing a saxophone as an older Indy. So I don't even know if it's even on Disney Plus or anywhere to watch streaming right now. I haven't been able to see it, and I don't know if Paramount still own the rights to it or whoever, but yeah, I considered it educational, though. I really did.
Because go look that one up. Yeah, for sure.
They would do a whole episode talking about the Austro-Hungarian royal family, or something pertaining to World War I. They did take certain liberties with some of the historic peoples, like sometimes like in All Quiet on the Western Front, where they add characters and stuff like that. But they did try to give it a certain sense of realism. And I always thought what kind of inspired it was the fact that it was roughly around the same time that the Highlander TV series was sort of getting into its own. And of course, that's every episode had many period pieces set within. So I think it was giving people were getting more and more interested in historic settings, and they were trying to feed into that. Just my theory.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, let's get back to some of these comments. Maybe they inspire something else.
Sure. Super AV21 says 1991. I believe he's talking about Carmen Sandiego. And
okay.
We can go with that. And hello to you too, Super
Thank
AV21.
You. Thank you for subscribing. I just saw that you subscribed to my channel not too long ago. So thank you very much.
Subscribe to mine too. Hint.
Yes. Well, hey, I have, you look down below, you'll have friends of channel, and they're all people that have been on the program, and they're all channels I recommend. Go, and if you like this kind of stuff, go and subscribe to all of them.
Tom the Hungry Jerk says Rockapella was great on Carmen Sandiego. Yes, they were kind of the in-house band. Are you guys familiar all with Rockapella?
No, because
Uh-huh.
I never
they
watched
were sort of
Carmen Sandiego. So
they had a career outside the show too, but they were an a cappella group, but they specialized in kind of calypso music. Their biggest hit, you can actually find it there on YouTube. It's the Zombie Jamboree. The back to back, belly to belly. It's a really funny song, and it's all about a guy who stumbles upon zombies when they all come out to feed one night. And it's set in New York City. It's very funny.
Cool. Right on.
Let's see what else we got here. Skipping down. Mr. President John F. Kennedy says, Voyagers, I keep on Omni on my phone.
Okay, I don't know what that means exactly. I love Voyagers, and I keep an Omni on my phone. I think that's got to be tongue in cheek or something like that, because that was something that they held in their hand. Maybe he uses it to watch old movies or something. I'm not sure. You'd have to fill us in. We'd have to know. Hey, there was
Omni magazine on the phone now.
Oh, is it on? Maybe.
I don't know. I'm sweet as straws.
Now, there was one educational show that I could never get into. Like, I couldn't. I tried. I really wanted to, but I couldn't. And it's called Pinwheel. Did any of you guys watch Pinwheel?
I think I remember seeing Pinwheel come on with the title sequence, but
yes,
that's as far as I got, and I didn't watch that. There's so many others that I did, though, but not that.
It was on Nickelodeon.
Oh, that yeah,
and it was terrible. It looks like it's going to be fun. It is the Captain Vitamin of educational TV. You remember Captain Vitamin, the cereal?
King Vitamin, yeah.
King Vitamin, yeah. That's right. King Vitamin.
None of us kids wanted to eat anything with the word vitamin on the box. We just didn't want that.
But it looked fun. I mean, the cereal looked right. I know it said vitamin.
Yeah.
But it tasted terrible. Well, this is one of those shows. It's got puppets in it. I mean, the opening sequence is really inviting, but I'm like, I can't get into this at all. I don't care about any of these characters. It was awful. I don't know if anybody else has had
remember
that,
it, but I didn't see it. You and I spoke about in our last talk that we would graduate, how you would start with one show and slowly progress to the others. Like when you were really young, you could watch Mr. Rogers, and then once you graduated from Mr. Rogers, you had that bridge show called Sesame Street, which bridged you between Rogers and Electric Company. You moved into that,
right?
And then you could move on to there was another one. I mean, you went to Zoom, but do you guys remember Big Blue Marble? Do you remember that show?
Someone just mentioned that in the chat. I was going to bring it up myself. I do remember Big Blue Marble. It was sort of Cosmos for children, wasn't it?
Right. It ran from 74 to I think 1983, and it was like learning about other cultures around the world, other kids that lived in different countries, and even their title sequence contained one of the earliest photos of the Earth that NASA took from orbit, and it was the opening of their show, and that was their big title sequence, and they I think they were proud of showing that. But yeah, the Big Blue Marble, I do remember that one and watching that one. Yes.
That sounds like a great show. I mean, I always feel bad when somebody brings up these shows that are really good and I missed out on them, like Zoom. You guys are all talking about the Zoom characters. And now here's another one I missed out on. I have to go back and watch it. What else we
all
got?
over YouTube. It's all over there.
John F. Kennedy says one of the coolest but short-lived shows was Darkroom. Not educational, but do you guys remember Darkroom at all?
Was that a Nickelodeon show as well?
I don't
No, it was
Not familiar with
a
that one.
network show. It was sort of like Tales from the Crypt if it was in snippets. It was an anthology horror show, and what they would do is they would take very short stories from Stephen King and R.M. Sterling and people like that, and it was basically like a sketch show but for horror. And there were shows about a girl who thinks she's dating a vampire, and it turns out she's dating a werewolf. Bum. And with Helen Hunt, yeah, she goes to her date with a cross, and the guy laughs it off, and she goes, "Oh, I thought you were a vampire." No, I'm not a vampire. And then he turns around and
that's the twist.
yeah, exactly. And it was hosted by James Colburn, and he would basically
James Colburn.
Yeah, James Colburn. He would introduce each segment. He would have a little story behind it. There's a really, really cool one. It was there was a show with Dennis Quaid, which is inspired by it, a movie with Dennis Quaid that was inspired by it. It's about a guy who's playing with his ham radio and starts picking up signals from World War II. And comes up with a brilliant plan that if he could build a transmitter, he might be able to save the transport ship his father's on.
Oh,
and
wow.
I won't give it with
Twilight Zone like.
Very much so, very much
Yeah.
so. It was a great show. It only lasted about 12 or 13 episodes. It used to be right here on YouTube, and they pulled it for whatever reason.
Was it geared toward kids too?
Young adults.
Okay, young adults. Okay, yeah. Wow.
It was basically because I was like 13, 14 at the time. It was for when you just reach that age where you start reading Stephen King.
Oh yeah.
That's the age group it's for, and I ate it up.
Wow.
I had an older cousin who was like, "Oh, this is like so lame," and I'm like, "Are you kidding? This is great. This is
the best thing on television."
Right.
It's like I told her, I go, "This is a modern day Twilight Zone," and she's like, I hate the Twilight Zone too. She hated everything, still does.
It was cool to hate everything at a certain age.
Yeah, but you should have grown out of it by the time you hit 50.
Right,
you know?
Right. Exactly.
But it was a great show. If you can find it, check it out. It's called The Dark Room, and it really was a great show.
That's great.
What other show suggestions do we have here?
Let's see. We have Adrian James says Airwolf and Street Hawk. I don't remember Street Hawk. Of course, I remember Airwolf.
Street Hawk was Rex Smith was in that. Mr. Rex Smith played Daredevil in the Hulk movie that was on with Bill Bixby.
Oh, okay.
He was a music guy too. I think he recorded some songs or something, but I think Rex Smith was on there.
I mean, Emily Miller mentions Wishbone. I wanted to get this in before we did anything else, so I preempted it there.
Is that the little dog?
Oh,
show?
yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that was a late 90s, early 2000s one.
Yeah.
I loved it, though. I loved it.
He would go into books and be like knights and things, right? He would become characters or something. I didn't see a lot of it.
It was basically literature kind of education for kids. So the dog would play the main character,
right,
or play a side character or something like that. I thought it was hilarious.
It was like that Mr. Magoo cartoon where it was like classical literature, where it was like he would always play the title character, like he was Cyrano de Bergerac or Gunga Din. Only in this case, it was live action and a dog.
Yeah.
Yes,
that was hilarious.
Well, other than the regular ones you guys have talked about, the only other ones I have, Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street, Electric Company, Captain Kangaroo. We talked about Zoom. We talked about the big blue marble. It's easy for me to say. Trash Pondo said 3-2-1 Contact, which I do remember that one too. But the other ones were the short ones that were kind of on ABC and NBC on Saturdays, like Time for Timer, the animated series where the little yellow guy would come on and teach you how to cook nutritional things to eat and how to be serious and stuff like that. And then you had one to Grow on NBC, which would teach kids interaction with other people and how to be honest, and what had celebrity hosts like Betty White was on one, Mr. T was on one. A lot of those would show too, and I consider those educational as well.
Yeah. I like the I don't know what kind of character he was, but the guy who built the sandwiches and stuff.
Timer, yeah.
Was that his name?
Time for Timer. That was his name. Big yellow blob fat guy with skinny legs and a big long nose with a hat on.
Yes.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
I always wondered what they were trying with that. Were they trying like a penguin kind of thing, or what? Does anybody know?
Like a deranged yellow penguin. Yeah.
Yeah.
His origins were, of course, in an after-school special, which was supposed to be like, I don't know if you remember the series Joe's Nose, Joe's Spine, Joe's this or that, but for kids. And what happens is these two children learn about human anatomy. This timer, who I always thought he was something to do with the guy's heart. Your ticker, your timer. Shows up and says, "Come with me, and I'm going to show you how your uncle's doing." And they go inside, and the uncle has all kinds of health problems, and they're just going to go. It's sort of like the Fantastic Journey and that type of thing. And he introduces all the parts of the human body through their Uncle Carl, and then at the end he brings them back. And but I always thought the timer was some type of. It had something to do with human anatomy. They're just not exactly clear about what part of the human anatomy.
Yeah. Well, I made a few of those wagon wheels, which was basically
wagon wheels. I made the sunshine on a stick, where you take the toothpicks and put it in the orange juice in your ice spray maker and put it and freeze it, and you got a little icicle pop.
Yeah, those were good too. Those were good.
I tried that with Tang, and Tang. There's something about the sugar content, and they never freeze properly, and the stick just pulls right out. So I ate it as like a slush, and my mother comes out, and I have an ice tray in front of me, and I'm eating out of it with a spoon, and it's just sort of like, you're gonna live with your father.
It's like, we've had enough. Fair.
I can't do this anymore.
Come up with
do you remember the one
sludge.
that was "Don't Drown Your Food"? Was that Time for Timer?
No, that was actually a separate one. Don't Drown Your Food. Don't Drown Your Food I actually placed that one. I played that on the show a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I remember that. And you know what? That did help me to not drown my food in ketchup. I didn't really like ketchup until ranch came out. And I drowned everything in ranch dressing.
Right.
I mean, anything goes with ranch. I loved ranch dressing. So I still do. But
that same production company that I don't think was part of Timer, it may have been, but it was a different voice. But they also did one called Yuck Mouth. They call me Yuck Mouth because I don't brush, and he didn't brush his teeth. I mean, they would do that one too. And there's another one.
Teaching kids to brush their teeth so they don't be Yuck Mouth.
Chopper.
They
had a guy named Chopper on a motorcycle that looks like Fonzie on the Thrash Panda knows what I'm talking about. He's on this bike with a leather jacket, and I got to go to school and learn. I don't have time to hang out with you guys. It was Chopper was his name. Another one.
Oh, okay.
The carrot goes, I'm exercising my teeth. This is heavy exercise because chewing a raw carrot supposedly gave you
and celery. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's right.
And I do remember the one to grow on, but I can't really remember like a specific thing about it. I remember the one with the star that comes down.
That's it. That was the title sequence to One to Grow On.
Was it the one to grow on?
Yeah.
Okay.
NBC.
All right. And then what kind of lessons would they teach on there? Was it like, don't you do drugs, don't smoke cigarettes, or was it different?
I remember 2 or 3 of those. Betty White was on one. Mr. T was on one where it started out with a couple of kids lifting weights and working out. And he's like, here, why don't you try this weight? And he's like, hold it, fool. That's too heavy. Don't be messing with that. Always have a grown-up around when you're lifting those weights. And just stuff like that. It was more of a safety, stranger dangerous type things on there just to teach you things as far as I remember it. Yeah.
Cool.
Was that one.
All right. Well, what else we got for us here?
Let's see. I just had it. Where'd it go? John says Hodgepodge Lodge. Miss Jean was the lady's name, and he ends with, "Well, maybe no elephants." The opening theme was all the fun animals she was going to bring to you that you could learn about. And at the end, they go, "And elephants," and they go, "Well, maybe not elephants," because it was just this lady who lived in the woods.
I see.
John Collins says, Robert Bob Thrash Pondo, all 3 titles because you deserve it. Thank you. Thank you for your warm appreciation and congratulations about my wonderfully received turn on the Good Stuff live stream with Dave. You are quite welcome. You earned every mega kudos. And let's see. Oh,
That
here's
was a
another one
great
about.
live stream, by the way. That was a great live stream.
It was truly amazing.
Yeah.
Hodgepodge Lodge was the anally retentive version of Home Craftsman's. Well, that's a very nice superplex.
Probably pretty true. Who knows? All right.
We have Emily Roth Myers says Mr. Led Boomerang. Was there a show called Boomerang? I don't recall Boomerang.
I don't remember Boomerang.
I remember that one.
Let me look it up. Hang on 1 second. Let me see if I can Google this. Boomerang.
Please do. Oh, while you're looking that up, here's another good one we haven't talked about yet. Jason Goldtrap says Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh yeah, Schoolhouse Rock.
Fantastic.
That's I think that was one of the best shows ever.
Thank you, Schoolhouse Rock, for teaching me the preamble to the Constitution, and I never forgot it.
Right,
but I have to sing it.
Yeah, I never forgot that. I never forgot what conjunctions are. Never forgot lolly, lolly, lolly. Get your adverbs here. Unpack your adjectives, and we unpacked our adjectives.
Oh yeah. And Ian and I talked about Jack, the late great Jack Sheldon, who sung a lot of those songs. Jazz singer and musician, was a fantastic voice of a lot of Schoolhouse Rock songs.
Yeah. Schoolhouse Rock was the best. It was clever. It was clever, and it worked. And it really, I mean, they were good songs still to this day.
They were clever because they taught me stuff and tricked me into learning.
Tricked you into learning, right?
That's right.
They were literally one of those songs that you walk around and you'd sing the rest of the day if you heard it. Just whittle your way into your ear, into your brain, and you're just singing it.
I sing them now at 56.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
so
never forgot them.
Right on. What else we got?
Let's see. This one, I don't know if it counts as educational, but a lot of people are talking about it. I'm going to throw it in. Emily Miller says Lazy Town.
Lazy Town. I've never heard of that.
Lazy Town was surreal. Lazy Town was, I don't know if you guys remember Liquid Television at all, but there was a shtick they would do. They would do sketches, and they would have people dress up like cartoon characters with oversized teeth and like these like plastic shell hair pieces. And it was designed to look like a cartoon, but be live action. And Lazy Town, the whole premise was good sportsmanship. There was a good guy with this really, really fake French accent who was the best sports person in the world, and a guy who always tried to cheat who invariably lost at the end. And but I don't know if I'd call it educational, more zany.
Yeah, I see.
You say Liquid Television, that was at MTV, right?
It sure was.
Yeah.
It was when MTV was trying to reinvent itself as this like slick modern TV of the 90s. And they had some pretty good stuff, some experimental TV. In fact,
that's where I watched The Max, and that's where I watched Beavis and Butthead for the first time and everything.
Eon Flux.
Yes. Great stuff.
Among others.
Well, in my power outage, I don't know if you guys mentioned the other shows that had educational parts of them. Like on Saturdays, we had Shazam and Isis from Filmation would show their show, and at the end, they would give you the message at the end. Hey, today on the episode, we learned how to not play with matches, and Shazam would talk directly to the audience. G.I. Joe would do that. They had the little public service little messages at the end. Even the Super Friends would do that. I remember a specific one where a kid was about to pet he's like, hey, doggy, a nice dog, a little strange dog over there. And Superman's like, no, don't approach a dog. Unless you know the dog and don't touch it. And even the New Adventures of Batman that Filmation did in 1977, where they brought Burt Ward and Adam West back to do the actual voices of Batman and Robin on their series, they ended with educational messages telling you about what you just watched on the episode. So all those shows had their educational parts
moments.
As well.
Yeah. They were all
most
really
of the Filmation ones had guys with PhDs, psychologists helping them write those things, so they knew what they were doing.
That's good. I'm glad they put some work into it, at least. You know what I mean? They weren't just like, hey, I think this is a good idea. Should we run it by a professional? We should.
Even the short-lived Fox show Dinosaurs spoofed on that. They did an anti-drug episode, and at the end, Robbie comes out and says, You see what you folks have made us do? You keep doing drugs, so we have to do an anti-drug show. Now stop doing drugs, and I'll stop talking to the camera. And it's very, very, very clever because, as you say, BK, every show feels compelled to do some type of education, and there's usually something phoned in, like don't do drugs, don't harass stray dogs, don't. But it's like that's a form of education, so we'll just work that in.
Yeah, right. Hey, what was the name of that? Does anybody remember the name of that one show where it was a guy who he was a mime, and he had this kind of he had this kind of like real curly afro kind of hair, and on is that it?
I think you're thinking of Slim Goodbody. Wasn't he on Captain Kangaroo for a little while too?
It was a running segment on Captain Kangaroo. Yeah. Thank you, Rich Atwood.
Okay, all right. I thought I was going nuts there for a minute.
But, nutrition's his mission. Good health's his goal.
Right. Yeah.
Now, just as an off a degree of connection here on that. My buddy Michael Gray, who played Billy Batson in the Shazam television series, whom I'm good friends with, and he comes on the show with me all the time. He's a great guy. He lives out in California. He's retired now, but he appears every now and then on Archer. You guys remember the show Archer?
Mm-hmm.
And he's on there as TV's Michael Gray, and he's in a Slim Goodbody outfit on the show. So he's kind of spoofing that on Archer, and I thought that was funny with that tie-in like that.
Yeah, I remember that, and
I remember that show, and not to mention the Brian Keith show, of course, not to forget the Brian Keith show.
That's right.
And what was that show? I can't remember what channel it was on, but it had Gary. It was a segment show, but it had Gary the GNU on there, sharing the GNUs. Does anybody remember that one?
That sounds familiar, but it's just in the back of my head with dust in it. I can't.
And that's where I saw the good body person with the half of it was like the muscles and half of it was the skeleton. And I think that's where I saw him.
There may be another guy.
And at the beginning, it has like this space thing. It was like this car
space coaster. The Great Space Coaster. That's what it is.
That's right. And then it had Gary the GNUs. And this is the news. He was the GNU, and he presented the GNUs. It says good GNUs and bad GNUs.
I remember hearing about the Great Space Coaster, but I don't know if I ever saw an episode of that.
I saw a few episodes. I do remember it. In fact, there's another one, and I people think that I made it up. There was a series of hygiene ads, I guess you'd say, or health tips and stuff, commercials, sponsored by the government, FDA, and that type of thing, and they were puppets. And there was the only one I can remember the dialogue from was he's the abominable snowman, but he's a puppet. And he goes, "Oh, my favorite class is lunch. I'm having cookies, layer cake, and soda pop." And his friend, who's an ostrich, says, No, you have to eat more nutritionally. I have soup, salad, and this lovely orange. And he goes, "You know what? You're right. I'm going to get the hot lunch." And he comes out and he's balancing his meal by keeping it on his head. Anybody remember this, or am I, again, having another stroke?
No, I don't know. I don't think you're having a stroke, but I don't remember that one because there's a lot. This is just proof, and I'm learning there were a lot more shows growing up that I didn't see, than I did see.
Well, because that's actually where I was going. That was just a commercial, but those commercials. There was another one that had a giraffe and a squirrel, and there were always these two puppets talking to each other. That was a short-lived Saturday morning TV series that again was educational, but nobody remembers the show. They remember, if you do remember anything of it, you remember the commercials, but nobody remembers the show. And they take the greatest pleasure in correcting me, saying, "Ha, that was never a show." Yes, it was. It was right on the time. Was it In the News? Remember In the News from the early 70s?
In the News on CBS with Christopher Glenn. Yes. On
Bingo.
CBS, yep.
It was right around the same time that was coming out. And again, sort of CNN geared towards children.
Wow.
The only one that was nutritional, I don't know if this was local or not, but do you guys remember one called a short that was on PBS called Mulligan Stew?
Yes.
This sounds familiar. How did it go?
A lot of kids that were just teaching you how to eat right, the food pyramid, which we since abandoned. learned better than that. But it was like learning how to eat properly and what all the food groups did. And they were also a musical band, and it was only a one shot. I think it was like an hour long, called Mulligan Stew. But I didn't know whether it was just specifically on locally on PBS in my area in the Southeast, or was it nationwide? But I guess some people do remember it. They made a comic book out of it as well too. So I remember that one.
Huh.
The one of the ones that I remember was a segment, and I don't remember what it was on, but I remember seeing it more than once. And it had two kids. It had a guy and a girl, and they were, I don't know, maybe 12, 13. And the guy was eating ice cream, and the girl was eating peanuts, and they were debating back and forth the pros and cons of whose snack was better. And I'm like, I have a snack, and they're like, yeah, I've got ice cream, and the girl's like, I got a snack too, I've got peanuts. And then the guy was like, yeah, mine tastes real sweet, and then the girl's like, yeah, well, that's going to be bad for you, and da 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 da, and and then finally the guy says, at the end, oh, the thing that pushed him over to the peanuts was, she said, and when I'm done with my peanuts, I can just grow some more. And he goes, well, maybe I'll have some peanuts too. I don't know if you remember this segment or not, but for some reason it's stuck in my
I don't remember that segment, but all I'm thinking of is just ground the peanuts up and throw them in the ice cream. That's
yeah, you're right. Throw them on there.
Yeah.
Of course, now everybody has a peanut allergy, so
sweet and salty.
Everybody has a peanut allergy these days. This is crazy. Yeah.
Let's see. John H says, "Oh, it's almost there." It blurred out. That was almost surreal, the way it sort of blurred in and blurred out. John H says, "Uncle Croc's Rock Block was another Filmation show that I fondly remember." Do you guys remember that?
No.
I was the biggest Filmation studio fan in the world, and I do not remember that show at all. I don't remember that. I have to check that out.
Mid-70s, lasted about one season, hosted by Charles Nelson Riley. And it's a spoof on Very Good, and Ghost of Mrs. Muir, the TV series. And it's a spoof on Saturday morning kids shows, and he plays the host, and they make him wear this alligator costume because he's Uncle Croc, and he hosts different cartoons and does little vignettes in between, and you can tell he's like phoning in. He's like, "So today, kiddies, we're gonna be making popsicle stick art," and his producer was played by John Smith, who John Harris from Lost in Space.
Oh, Jonathan Harris, yeah.
And they would butt heads, and it lasted for a season. It was classic, but it just didn't last long. I think it's because the actual vignettes with the live action characters were hysterical. I think they were really phoning it on the cartoon end. So I think people just weren't interested in the cartoons. But he had Robert Ridgely come out and play the 695 man, where he was an android.
Great character actor. He was
amazing character.
Voice of Flash Gordon and Tarzan. He did so many voices, and Boogie Nights.
Thunder the Barbarian.
Right, man. Boogie Nights. He played the Colonel in Boogie Nights. Yeah. That's great. How did I miss that show when I used to watch every Filmation? I remember Mission Magic with Rick Springfield in the early 70s that no one remembers.
I remember that. I remember Mission Magic. I don't
Martians and their spoof on all the other TV shows that they did. I thought I saw them all. Now I feel disappointed in myself.
Yeah, that's the one I remember is the Rick Springfield cartoon one. He was
the weird thing is, someone asked me to do a show about that on my channel, and I went to do some research, and there was like nothing. There was like no information on the show. So I mean, if you watched it, you know of it, but there's like very little which has stood the test of time. There are a couple of snippets from it on YouTube, but yeah, it came and went. I want to say in 76. It was the fall of 76, and it was just gonzo.
Well, I know they weren't the ones we just mentioned weren't educational, but wow, I'd love to do a whole show on just the Filmation studios, because they were so underrated and put out so much stuff. Sure, they put out some crap, but they also put out some really, really good stuff over the years. Their Star Trek animated series won an Emmy Award, and as it should, because it was amazingly well done.
Right on. Well, what else do we have? One I didn't Well, let's go to the guests. I want to get some more guest interaction here, some more comments. If you got some to pull up, Thrash.
Sure. Jason Goldtrap says Star Blazer had terrific writing and a cameo in Gamera, Super Monster. I did
Oh
not
wow,
realize Gamera was on Star Blazers. I did. I love the show, but I don't remember Gamera being on it.
Gamera.
Gamera, Gamera. The one thing that really got me mad about Star Blazers is in the Japanese version. There was that one where they're setting a trap for the Gamelons, and something goes awry. And I am paraphrasing. I saw this for the last time many years ago. Something goes awry, and Sergeant Knox tells Wildstar, "Get out. I'll hold them back. You get out." Wildstar says, "No, we'll go together." He goes, "No, I never thanked you for saving my men on planet Brumus. Get out of here." And he sacrifices himself, holding back the Gamelons so Wildstar could escape. In the English version, when Wildstar's on the bridge and he's brooding because Knox is dead, someone comes up to him and says, "Hey, Wildstar, we just want to let you know that Sergeant Knox got out right before they." And I'm like, no, don't ruin this classic ending, this like amazing sacrifice.
They did that with all those shows. When I finally got to see, I watched Battle of the Planets growing up with G-Force, and that was my anime. And when I got to see the original Gotcha Mans in Japanese, I'm like, wow, this is so violent and realistic, and people got killed and stuff. And it was just, and I loved the Battle of the Planets dubbed version too, because that's what I grew up watching with. But they were amazing when you saw them in their original forms. They really were.
I've not been able to go back and see Gotcha Man yet. I want to, because I was a huge Battle of the Planets fan. I mean, just an absolute huge.
They were all great. Star Blazers was great. There were so many good ones. Speed Racer. They were.
Voltron 2 was another really good
Speed
one.
Racer called Maka Go-Go in Japan. I think.
Yes, it was the Mark IV of death. They changed it to Mark V in America because Go is a double meaning. Go means 4, but it also means death. So it was the Mark IV Go-Go.
I can't say Speed Racer too loudly in here because my wife will hear it and start singing it. I know she will. She loves it.
Go Speed Racer.
She loves it.
I did too. I did too. It was great. And do you know the episode where it's finally established that Racer X was his brother? Spoiler alert! That Racer X was Speed's brother. That made it to the top 100 best reveals in American television, according to TV Guide.
Deservedly so, it did. Yes, and it was amazing when I found that out.
I remember as a kid, I fell out of my chair. I'm like, "What? Who saw that coming?" I'm like, "I suppose."
The same league? Was that in the same league as Who Shot JR? That's amazing. That's great.
In the same league as Who Shot Mr. Withers or on The Simpsons.
Mr. Oh my God, Smithers was
Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns, yes.
Boo Earns. They're saying Boo Earns. Boo Earns. I was saying Boo Earns. Let's see. Skipping down.
I know we missed Mr. Reading Rainbow.
Reading
Rainbow was a good one too.
LeVar Burton. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now he did that before Star Trek, didn't he?
Right. I think he did it after Roots, but before Star Trek. Yes, yeah. I think that's another show that came on a little later when I was a little older, and I didn't get to see a lot of it, but I did see some of those. Yeah.
Right. Well, it would be a little weird if you're like, 20 and you're watching Reading Rainbow. Well, I got to get home from my favorite show. It's Reading Rainbow.
I usually watched it in secret. Nobody knew about it. Yeah.
Right. Just you and me and the internet, and that's it.
Right.
No one knows about it at this point.
Right.
Butch Stomp says Uncle Croc's Rock Block was pulled off the air an hour show before Christmas 1975. It soured ABC's relationship with Filmation. They never picked up another one of their shows.
I guess that's right, because Filmation was mostly on CBS after that point. I'm going to go look for that on YouTube. I have not seen that show, and I want to go find it now and see some of those episodes.
Yeah. I was close. I said 76. It was 75. Let's see what we got here. Emily Miller says Between the Lions.
I'm not familiar with that.
I think that was a reading show too, wasn't it?
Not sure. I never heard of that one.
Yeah, I've not heard of it either. I'll have to look it up.
Mark Garthard says I have a Mac 5 Hot Wheel. I didn't know they made Hot Wheels for Speed Racer. That's very cool.
Mach 5. That's the only. What's one of the rare live action motion pictures that I actually walked out of was the Speed Racer live action film that came out just a few years ago.
You walked out of it, really?
I came in 30 minutes into that thing, and I got up and I walked right out of the theater because I couldn't take it. I just didn't think it was well done at all. I didn't like it. So
you didn't want to spoil it for you. You're a big fan of.
I'm like, I only spent $2 to see this. I can leave now and not lose an hour and a half of my life. It's only be $2, and I left. So I did. So yeah,
I never saw it. I never saw it either. But I didn't ever really get to see Speed Racer either. I mean, I've seen an episode here and there, of course. But as far as being a series fan of it, I just never really was. And you know what? And that's entirely my fault because I know it's a great show. It's just one of those things that have fallen through the cracks. Like we've all got those shows. They're terrific shows. I keep trying to get Thrash Pondo to break down and watch Arrested Development, the first 3 seasons. I mean, because
I've seen episodes of it. I just,
you have?
I've skipped around. No, I've seen some episodes. I just haven't seen it concurrently. I haven't watched it as a series. I see an episode here, an episode there.
If you watch it now, here and there, I mean, it's still really good. But if you watch it episodically, it's amazing. Especially, you might not seem so because everything is a rip off of Arrested Development at this point, to some degree or another. They really set the stage for it. That's another one of my commercials that they don't pay me for. Go watch Arrested Development first 3 seasons. Were you a fan, Barry?
What was that?
Were you a fan?
No, I haven't seen Arrested Development. I've got a lot of friends that watched it, and I haven't seen it either. So yeah,
I know people say this to me about some other shows like 30 Rock and stuff. They're like, "Oh, you got to watch it. You're missing out so much." But I'm always like, it's just like, please go watch Arrested Development. It is seriously, it was so ahead of its time. But anyway, all right, that's enough of my commercial there.
John H brings up an excellent point. I remember seeing Mulligan Stew on PBS during the school day. Yep. That was the problem with it. It was on while you were supposed to be in school. In fact, one of my most vivid memories, I had a really nasty tummy bug one day. I was probably in 1st or 2nd grade, and I was homesick as a dog. And of course, I'm channel surfing because what else are you going to do? And I saw Mulligan Stew, and I remember vividly seeing it, going, why can't I watch this at a regular time slot? And I always associate Mulligan Stew with a tummy ache. I don't know why.
That's where I saw it, guys. I saw it in school because our school showed it to us.
Oh, they did?
Yes, that's where we saw it.
Oh, wow.
School. Yeah.
Well, that's to teach you to not miss school. Like if you miss school, you're going to go to school anyway.
And you better darn eat right, too. That's what they're saying, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Too funny. Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, hang on. My screen just went blank. And every now and then, if we have like a lot of comments, it just gigs, and I lose all of them. And I'm like, hey, wait, whoa. Like it just did again. Okay, here we are.
What?
Mulligan Stew. Dun, dun.
Yeah, right.
Mulligan Stew. Dun, dun.
Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, Emily Miller says, Super, my daughter was born in 93, so I watched it quite a bit. She's referring to Mulligan Stew, I believe.
Yeah, you kind of do that. Like I was looking at the Between the Lions too. It's like a 2000s. But you know, like if you have kids or you work around kids or something like that, you kind of get to rewatch these things or watch the new ones, you know, because your kids are watching them. So then you get a chance at seeing those things again or seeing the ones that you wouldn't have watched normally if you didn't have kids or work with kids.
Well, I'm married to an elementary school teacher, and for her to actually say when we would watch the Electric Company just to have fun recently, or we'd watch an episode of some of the Schoolhouse Rock classics, she would sit there and say, yeah, we could use this in school today. I could use these to show the kids today. They're still hold up from the message that they say, like when they would teach you how to say the sh, Ark, and they had the two little voices on Sesame on Electric Company talking back and forth. She goes, that could still be used today, and that's timeless. It's timeless stuff.
Right, certainly is.
Jason Goldtrap says, "Remember when Mighty Mouse did cocaine?"
Well, we were talking about that, weren't we?
We were.
Yeah.
Producer of Ren and Stimpy. What was the guy's name? John Krafalowski.
I believe it was Ralph Bashki in this case.
He was
the Mighty Mouse.
He produced. He was producing those Mighty Mouses that went on to do Ren and Stimpy, and he was.
Okay. Now I'm with you. Now I'm with you.
Total. Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, the scene they're talking about is
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead with it.
Okay.
I just wanted to put it up there so John will. Otherwise, he'll keep reposting that. So.
I love his persistence. In an episode of this Ralph Bashki Mighty Mouse, he goes on this quest, and the quest was set upon him by this young lady. And as he takes off, she gives him a flower as a remembrance. And over the course of his many adventures, the flower starts to crumble to dust. And one time he goes to sniff the flower, and it totally crumbles to dust, and it goes up his nose. And this group of I don't want to start on anybody. This group of conservatives somewhere said, Mighty Mouse is doing drugs. Mighty Mouse is doing cocaine. And rather than try to say, hey, you moron, it was the flower that he took with him, they just cut the scene. And by doing that, they admitted guilt. So the show was cut at the end of the season. So even though Ralph Bashki's Mighty Mouse was possibly the most innovative and entertaining Saturday morning cartoon show we had seen in years, it was cut because someone had decided that he was doing drugs. Censorship. That's why I fight it. But now I will get off the soapbox now. Let's see. John Collins says, you guys have to remember that during the 80s, every Saturday morning cartoon show became pseudo-educational because of the equal time status and shows having to have an educational premise. Yeah, did that have something to do with the too much violence in daytime programming? They cut out the violence and had to put in so much that was considered educational, as it were?
I guess I did miss though Bugs Bunny and Wile E. Coyote blowing things up with TNT though. That was great. And I never went and blew anybody up because of it. I don't remember doing that. So
some people did things like that.
Yeah, somebody might have done it.
Sadly, no, that was not unheard of, I'm afraid. But
now I did paint a hole on a wall once, and my friend ran into it thinking it was a tunnel. I did do that once.
Oh, okay. Did it work? Really? Wow.
It did.
What I could never figure out is why doesn't the coyote take all this money he's sending to Acme for these booby traps and rocket launchers and buy food with it? That would solve the whole problem, wouldn't it?
It would make us not have a cartoon either.
Right. So. For the same reason the professor didn't fix the ship on Gilligan's Island, we wouldn't have a show. That's right. And I always agreed with Russell Johnson on Gilligan's Island anyway. He goes, hey, when people ask me why I didn't fix the boat, if you were stranded on an island with Ginger and Marianne, would you want to fix it?
Nope.
Like, no, I guess not.
No, thank you.
They actually, it's a forgotten episode. It does exist, unless I dreamt it in a fever dream. They invent a glue that will hold the ship together.
Yep.
And Gilligan messes with it. And so not only does it not hold the patch onto the boat, but all the beams fall apart too. So
I think they found out
that in one episode.
When it interacted with salt water, it fell apart. And had they knew that ahead of time, they would have died. And Gilligan found out about it earlier, something like that.
Yeah, because he gargled with salt water, and they used it to fix his tooth, and he gargled with salt water. There was something. But yes, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
People ask me now, the debate. I know this has nothing to do with educational TV, but hey, Gilligan's Island taught me some things. Ginger or Marianne, the big debate. Well, I found out that the older I get, the more I answer that question with, oh, well, Mrs. Howell, who I would pick because look at the money she's got.
Because of the money.
So.
Yes, right. You're onto something there.
I always say that next time I'll marry money. Not a rich woman either. Just the money. Oh, my wife just heard that. I'm dead.
In the doghouse.
Zuberblick says Astro Boy and Gigantor. Love both of those shows.
Don't remember.
Either one of those?
I never got to see those. I've seen scenes from them, but they were really early anime, and I never got to see any of those. Yeah.
We had them in reruns in my area when I was a kid. I used to watch them with my father, particularly Gigantor. Tetsuya Atom, which was the Japanese name for Astro Boy. I think an affiliate carried those where my grandparents lived. So when I went to see her, I could watch Astro Boy. But I love Gigantor. I had an obsession with robots when I was a kid, probably from the robot from Lost in Space. Robot.
Good one, yeah. Good one.
And
named by the same guy that named the early thing we were talking about. That had that. What were we talking about earlier? Where he just called it the one name.
Oh, Captain Kangaroo. Where it's Mr.
Moose. They named Moose and they named the robot. Moose is Moose. That's right.
Right. That was the lazy writing.
The lazy.
That was the. I'm serious. That's the guy who. I think there's a Brian Regan joke about that where he talks about the map in in Dora the Explorer. He's like, have you heard the song on the map? He says that had to be somebody who didn't get their job done, and then they came in. They're like, hey, did you get the song written? Oh, is that supposed to be me? Yeah. I'm the map. 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 All right, good enough.
Lazy.
Yeah, lazy writing. Yeah. So whenever I see somebody like their name is Moose or their name is Cat or their name is, it's just like that person is the last minute there. Did you come up with the name? Oh, was I supposed to do that? Oh, of course I did. Yes, it's Robot.
We named our dog.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's hysterical. Where were we?
I don't know.
Oh, here's a good one. Tom says, I once cooked for Dawn Wells. Did you make her a coconut cream pie?
Yeah, I don't think she would have liked that. Maybe should have got that. I don't know.
Should we elaborate on that?
Well, just because on the island they were always eating coconut cream pies. And
I meant should we elaborate on what he cooked for her? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, that's why I said what did you, I made the joke about the coconut cream pie. But,
okay.
Yeah, but
but what did you
John? Tell us what you cooked for. I once made a Reuben sandwich for John Sununu.
John Sununu.
Oh, really?
Wow, cool.
Politician Reagan era. Ultra conservative. I worked at a restaurant in Osterville. He used to frequent there, and he came in once, and they go, "John Sununu's here. He wants the Reuben sandwich." And I made a very, very good Reuben sandwich because I didn't want him to complain. He loved the Reuben. So,
do you remember the guy? Do you remember the guy who he was in? Oh gosh, what's that show with Tom Tom Cruise? You Can't Handle the Truth.
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
The Marine that shot himself in that show. Remember that guy? He's a character actor. He's been around, but he's the guy who put on his suit and he wrote a letter and then he shot himself.
He played Santiago in the show, right? In the movie.
Yeah, I think so.
And I can't remember who played him though. Yeah.
I can't remember either, but he came into a restaurant that I worked at one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I almost nearly forgot about that. I peeked my head out the corner and I'm not sure what he ordered, but I was like one of the only cooks there. So I'm sure that I cooked for him. So
we need to do a show on our brushes with celebrities. That would be funny, I think, because
I remember looking out because the manager's out talking to him and go, oh. The only other brush with celebrity that I have that I can remember was I did see Tracy Ullman in a bookstore in London. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't talk to her though. I was with the group that did. We were coming back from Israel and we had a 4-day layover in London, and we were there at it was a mission base. It was a mission base. We're there in London, and we were out in the town and stuff, and we were in a bookstore, and there was Tracy Ullman. And I was with the group that talked to her. I didn't say anything. I always felt like stupid. I was just like, oh gosh, so starstruck. But that was
she was a funny lady. She was very funny. That's where The Simpsons started with her show.
It sure is. Yes. And she did a music video with Sir Paul McCartney too.
Yeah,
her big top 40 in the States.
Yeah,
in the United States. Yeah.
What was it? They Don't Know About Us? Is that the name of the song?
Yeah, They Don't Know About Us. She had others in the UK, but that was her only US hit, yes.
Well, we got to get to that one there. We put
Yes.
off John H for a while. Sorry, buddy.
Sorry, Johnny. Johnny says, I remember worrying about Wile E. Coyote starving when I was a kid and told my brother. He told me he could eat other things, but Roadrunners were his favorite.
Oh,
There you go.
Nice.
There's
That's
actually
a nice older brother for you, because I hear, I was an only child, but I hear horror stories. I mean, most older brothers would probably say something like, yeah, he's going to die, man. I'd worry about him if I were you. Stay up.
My older cousin, out of the blue, just one day we were horsing around and we were walking home from a corner store, and he said, watch where you step. And I go, how come? He goes, well, you never know if you're going to step on Dracula's grave. And I go, what happens if you step on Dracula's grave? He comes and gets you at night when you're asleep. And this is just this little throwaway, like, ha-ha joke that he was telling me. And for ages, I used to, like, very consciously walk when I was a kid. Like, you don't think Dracula's here, do you? You don't think he's here, do you? You don't think he's here, do you?
They just don't know the damage they do to siblings sometimes. They really don't.
No.
Well, I was like 4 or 5, so I took this seriously.
I had a teacher one time. Well, we're in story time here. I had a teacher one time who told us a story about 12 pieces of dry burnt toast. He actually swallowed, I don't know why he didn't die, but he swallowed some that mercury, that liquid metal. You know what I mean? He had a little bit of it, and he was sitting around and all this stuff, and he was playing with it, and he swallowed it. And his older brother said, don't worry. He goes, I have the cure, but you have to eat 12 pieces of dry burnt toast. He tricked him, and he did it. He said, don't worry. He says, I'll make it for you. And so he had to eat 12 pieces, a whole loaf of bread, of dry burnt toast to get rid of it. I don't know. Maybe it helped him because he didn't die. So they're always tricking you, aren't they?
Terrible.
I know. What else we got? Well, we got only a few more minutes left in the program here. So,
let's see. Emily Miller says McCartney was just in North Carolina this weekend.
Oh, cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Zublik says Bernie is from Vermont and T-Pons is from Cape Cod, John. Thank you for the geography. I assume he means Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
And but Vermont is way up there. I'm way down here on the South Shore. Vermont. Little trivia question: Vermont is the only New England state that doesn't have a coastline.
Oh wow! Interesting.
Yeah, nobody cares. Wow. But and I have to tell this. I'm just teasing. But I have this another little joke. Why does Maine border only one other U.S. state?
Why?
Oh no!
Because New England drew straws and New Hampshire lost. That's my main joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's terrible. Growing up, I had to hear the joke. Growing up in Alabama, like I did, everybody goes, "Why do all the trees in Georgia and Mississippi lean toward Alabama?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." They're like, "Oh, because Alabama sucks." I'm like, "Oh, I get it. That's terrible."
Right.
But then, if you were from another state, you just change the joke and other states. So that's what I heard growing up. It's terrible. Sorry,
there were a lot of jokes like that.
I'm sorry.
Quite all right. Well, I hope Maine forgives me. But
yeah, we just
Emily
have
Miller says, no.
Go ahead.
Oh, Emily Miller says, I don't know, Kimberly. It kind of makes one opinionated, and she trails off there.
I don't know what that was in reference to.
I'm not sure.
Wow.
I'm not sure. One opinionated something or other. Oh, John Collins says, Bob, being from the area or at least the region, have you ever bumped into Bernie Sanders? I personally wouldn't mind having lunch with him. Never seen Bernie Sanders. He does come down here quite a bit. Massachusetts is a very liberal state, and he has a lot of friends here. And he has come to Cape Cod. I have not seen him.
Cool. We're kind of getting at the end of this. I think we've kind of beat the children's educational television. Before you go, listen, if you came over here from Dave's channel, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please subscribe, and please subscribe to these two guys' channel as well. If you go to my page and you go to Friends of Retro Serial. Both of their channels are listed. So subscribe to everybody on that page there. I know that they would all appreciate it. Before we go, I just want to kind of go around the room here. BK on the air, what do you got coming up for your shows?
Well, we always try to cover all the things going on in entertainment right now, and we do get into the past, like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And being an Atlanta based suburb where I am, we've got so many things filming in Atlanta, from Marvel Studios from their streaming shows to their movies, and we get into that a lot. Then I go back in time and get into, like I say, Schoolhouse Rock and a lot of things that we've been talking about here tonight. I do get to delve into everything nostalgic geekiness there. And every Saturday from 10 a.m. till noon, you can hear me at wbhfradio.org, streaming on the website, or you can use the TuneIn app or the Radio Garden app and hear me live on both of those platforms. Now, if you can't hear me, I do take the show after I'm off the air on Saturday and condense it down, take out our local stupid funeral home commercials and our goofy things that are local, and replace them with old classic commercials and Schoolhouse Rocks and sound effects and stuff like that, and make it sound like you're listening to a show from the 70s or the 80s. And you can hear me, just search for the BK on the Air podcast out there on SoundCloud, Spotify, Anchor, Podomatic, and my YouTube channel. So there's ways to hear me live, and if you don't hear me live, you can hear the podcast, BK on the Air. And I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. I've had a great time.
Yeah, it's been our pleasure for sure.
Great having you, BK. Thank you, George.
Thrash, what do you got going on with your channel these days?
Well, it's funny. Last week,
coming up.
Well,
go ahead.
Just as a lark, this past week, I actually did an exploratory post on what I felt was the creepiest top 40 song ever recorded, Angie Baby by Helen Reddy. And I kind of got a lot of really positive feedback. People just gobble it up. They go, this is great. And many people have suggested other almost as equally top 40 songs as well. So what I'm going to be doing just for a while before it gets stale is I'm going to be doing some creepy classics where I take a popular snappy, happy top 40 song and explain how creepy it is if you actually listen to the lyrics. And when that gets old, I'll go back to my wretched recaps and my top 10 lists of the worst jokes money can buy. And I might even do some film and book reviews if the mood strikes me. And you'll be able to find all of those things on Thrash Bottle Pawns.
Could I say that Every Breath You Take by the Police is a creepy song? It's very creepy.
Yeah.
It's a stalking, creepy
it's a stalker song.
And some people play it at their weddings, and I don't know why.
I'm going to add that to the list.
Well, we got a question here for you, BK, before we go.
He can wait. I'm kidding, John. I'm kidding. BK, John Collins says, BK, did you cover the most recent Oscar kerfuffle?
I didn't, because I can't remember the last time. Well, it's been a while since I've watched the Oscars. They've been so irrelevant, at least to me. I can only speak for myself. They've been so irrelevant to me. When the Oscars come on, do you guys know what I do? I go on YouTube and watch Oscars from 30 and 40 years ago that are posted.
Oh, wow.
I watch them from the 60s, the 50s, sometimes the early 70s. I do. Yeah.
I love that. I love that idea.
Everybody else covered that thing that happened at the Oscars, so I let them do that. I had other things to talk about, so I just did that. So I appreciate the question, though.
I don't know what this meant. I am not formally subscribed to Retro Serial or Thrash Pondo Pawns' YouTube channels as of tonight.
I think he's saying that he hasn't joined yet, but he's going to because he loves our content.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Awesome. And don't forget BK on the Air. That's good stuff. So
I've subscribed to them.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah. And we're subscribed to you. It really makes a difference. As far as I'm concerned goes, I know a lot of people, they want to know about what's going on with my wife. We did get some alternative medicine in from Greece, and so we're hoping that helps. We'll see. I mean, the doctors told her, like, I don't know, it was 2 months ago that they told her that she has 2 months to live, and she's still around. So that's really good. So that's really hopeful. And hopefully this alternative medicine that we got today will work. We also do traditional medicine as well, so keep us in your prayers as far as all that is concerned. And then the other thing that's going on is on the channel, just so you know, I'm working on a couple of projects. I'm working on 10 things you didn't, or not 10 things, but 5 things you didn't know about You Can't Do That on Television. And I'm going to be doing another 3 cartoons. And I'm going to be doing 3 cartoons based on games. So that's going to be coming up soon here. And of course, we're just lining them up as far as guests on our podcast and ideas for all the stuff. If you have any ideas or anything like that, please shoot them my way. And before you go, again, please like, comment, subscribe. And if you're interested in supporting Retro Serial financially, there are 2 ways you can do that. You can go to the Patreon page, where you can find 2 levels of support. There is the Cornflake Club, which is just $3 a month. It's like, hey, thanks, we like what you're doing, keep it up. Or there's the Honeycomb Hideout, where you get most all videos and most all podcasts at least 1 day in advance. And then there's Venmo, and it's at Singularity Productions, Singularity_Productions, if you want to do a one-time donation. Guys, listen, you make this worth it. You guys that type here, I mean, I'm watching these things just keeps going. I mean, it just keeps going up and up, and you guys are so interactive. It really means the world to me. It's why I do this. I mean, literally, it's why I do this. I know that there are channels out there that got like tons of subscribers, and I've been on those channels before, and I've watched like a comment just sit there. Like, and these guys are like, have like like over 100,000 subscribers, and you guys are just so interactive, and it makes it very special. And I want you to know that I super appreciate your interaction and your support for me here on this channel. So thank you very much, and we will talk with you guys all again real soon. Take care, everyone. Stay retro.